Welcome to our next installment of Home Theater Tours. And today we have Greg Bartley with us. And Greg has been on the show before, but he had a flood in his room. And so he remodeled a few things. So we decided to have him back. So welcome to the show, Greg.
Thanks, I appreciate the re-invite.
So we're doing things a little bit differently now. I asked you to send me a video of you kind of walking through the theater, and that's what we're seeing on the screen right now. And we're just going to hit play, and then after we may stop here and there and ask a couple questions. But the outside of the room is pretty much the same, so we'll just kind of hit play here and go. And a question first before we move forward is that, and oops, let's get a better pause where, there we go. Is what's your Marantz and those headphones sitting on top of an old RCA console that has a TV and a receiver and that kind of stuff?
That was actually a Sears Silvertone. I bought it off a local lady who was gonna give it to me, but I refused to not pay her for it. So what I did was I basically gutted it. It's not a TV. It was just like an old console with it had a turntable and an FM radio in it. The speakers were dry rotted, so I actually took the OEM speakers out and put a couple little energy bookshelves in there. So those are inside the cabinets where those louvers are, and then I couldn't get parts for the turntable anymore, so I basically, it's basically more for show because I just love those old 60s, 70s consoles. So everything you see on the top there is basically what's running the show and to the unit there.
So the unit on the right, I remember a friend of mine had that, and the little spin dial. You could go from one end of the dial to the other in no time. We had to hit mute, otherwise it would sound terrible. But that was kind of fun.
They don't call it a flywheel for nothing because it flies.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was good times.
Yeah.
And let's see, what do we got here? Oh, let's see. You've got a reel-to-reel. Go ahead.
Yeah, it still works. It works fine. I'll be honest, I don't use it a lot, but it's fun to play around with and, record some records onto the open reel and then listen to them off of that. I just love tinkering with this stuff is what it is.
Yeah. And that's, you've kind of got, before we actually get into your theater, an homage to the past, which I really like.
Yeah, my father, I got the love of audio equipment from my father. He passed when I was really young, but I remember very clearly his jazz records playing in the house all the time. So I think that's where I caught it from.
I'm trying to pass that love on to my kids. They like music, but they're just not into it the way I am. And it's not about the gear to them. It's about the music, and they put on their headphones and that's it, which is kind of a shame, but maybe when they get their own place.
Exactly.
And so this is what my theater would look like right here. I don't have a dedicated theater. I've got a media, I'm calling it a media room, and I've got some nice seating and a big screen on a projector. But you've got yourself a nice little bar here. And let's see, so here's our first screen. I think you have multiple screens out here.
Yeah, that's a 50-inch Hisense, just for behind the bar. And then that is an 83-inch LG C3. I was able to get a really, really good deal on, so I couldn't pass it up.
And if you look in the reflection, you can see the seat. So I'm assuming you can see both of those screens from the seating area.
Yes, you can. I use the littler screen more for if I'm sitting at the bar with some friends. But yes, you can see both of them from that seating area. Yeah.
I tell you, it'd be fun to tailgate at your house. You don't even need to go to the stadium. And this one, I saw the video. I really loved this turntable.
Yeah, again, I work part-time for Best Buy, full disclosure. I retired and was getting antsy being at home all the time. So I just worked there about 20 hours a week. And sometimes our vendors offer us special pricing on some things if we can answer a few questions that they ask us about it. But anyway, yeah, so I was able to get that for a really good price. And I saw it a couple of years ago and I really wanted it. But once I found out I could get it through our accommodation program. I pulled the trigger, and you know, it's really cool. It's like a piece of art, but it sounds really good too. It really
okay,
does.
so it's a good turntable on top of being a really cool conversation piece.
Exactly.
And we're gonna get an equipment list, so we'll be able to put all that information in the notes for this video.
Okay.
But we'll move on here. And is that the Cleveland Browns I'm seeing there?
Yes. Well, I can't say unfortunately now because they actually won this week, but yes. And Ohio State is the one to the left. Yeah, I was born and raised in Chicago, but I've lived in Ohio for 30 years now. So for better or worse, I'm a Clevelander.
I gotcha. So I was born in Chicago, but raised in Southern California. And my dad was a Chicago Bears fan, and that's we became Chicago Bears fans. All right, so here you've set up a screen, and you've got a projector before the projector room.
I do. That's the one that I used to have in the theater room, and then I wanted to go to 4K. The builder put in a cable that won't pass even 4K E-shift. I tried it, and it wouldn't pass the signal. I didn't want to tear my ceiling apart, so I went, well, you'll see what I went with once we get in there. So rather than trying to get a few bucks for that on eBay or whatever, I just repurposed it out into this room.
So I'm just curious, is this because now you've got a bar over there, and if you're just hanging out with the guys near the bar, it makes more sense just to sit there and watch it than going into the formal theater room?
Exactly. If we're just hanging out watching I mostly got that for watching like football, but you know, sports primarily. The other room is more geared towards movies, and I feel like this is more just like an open concept, or not concept, but an open area just to kind of hang out and, you know, have a beer or two. And it's just more conducive to that than the theater room is. Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. I mean, just this room here is enough to consider that a theater. And I see you got a little gaming area there, play cards. And now we're going into the theater.
Yeah, and just see, there's another part of the basement that's unfinished that I kind of half finished, and I have a pool table and another audio system over there too, but I didn't put it in here. I didn't think it was necessary.
No question. I see guitars everywhere in your room. Are you a musician?
I tried like heck to play the bass. For something I was always drawn to the bass, but the willingness is there, but the muscle memory, and I could just never get up to speed. I got really good at picking out notes by ear and going and checking and knowing I was hitting the right notes, but the dexterity you know, I never got it. So I kind of like, oh, well, I tried. I like to say,
that's interesting you say that, because I've wanted to play the guitar, and I'm just too clumsy to play the guitar, because the strings are not that far apart. I would hit the wrong strings. And then I tried piano or keyboard, and I was okay with that, but it was like if you could imagine painting by numbers, that's kind of how I played the keyboard by numbers. And I'd look at the notes and I hit it, and there'd be long pauses in between. There's just no way I could memorize where the keys were. So it was a fun thing that lasted for, you know, a few months. And then I said, I'm not a musician.
I just like to say that I'm much better at listening to music than I am actually playing it.
Same here. Now, here we've got your equipment rack, and I think you're going to go up and then scan down slowly enough. So we'll just wait till we do that, and then I will stop and we can talk.
Yeah. So in the old room, right in the front of that, inside the room itself, I used to have a cabinet. Not a cabinet, like a really nice stand, but it was a nightmare if I had to try and get behind the stand to rewire anything or check any wiring. I literally would just be able to, I couldn't even get my body back there. I'd have to try and reach back to try and check connections. So after the flood, when I had everything done, the guys who remodeled the basement, I said, hey, can you guys give me some proposals on putting a built-in cabinet, because the room behind there is just an open storage area, so I can get to everything real easily now, which makes life a lot easier, and it takes up less space in the room. So I'm glad I went that way. I think it was a good plan. It worked out well.
Oh, very cool. All right, so you've got your Panamax.
Yeah,
it's a power conditioner.
Right, yeah. And everything in that rack, I've got more power conditioners and amplifiers in the room behind there, but everything in the front wall is connected up to that Panamax there.
Okay. And what are we looking at here?
So I'm always been a music first kind of guy. So that is the bigger piece on the bottom is a Gustard R-26. It's called an R-to-R DAC. It's the idea behind those is supposed to be more analog sounding than the one that used the Delta Sigma chips. And I can't say if it does or doesn't. I know I like the way that thing sounds. And then the thing above that is a digital to digital converter. So I2S or I squared is another way of saying it. It's supposed to be the best digital signal you can get out of a DAC. It's supposed to have like less jitter and blah, blah, blah. So I tried one out with the availability to return it. So the Gustard is connected with a digital coax from a like a printer style cable, a USB cable. Yeah. From the bigger unit to the smaller one, and then the smaller one has what looks like an HDMI cable out into the receiver.
Okay. So you're serious about your music.
Yeah, for sure.
And so do you come into this room and just listen to music? Because I do that in my office, but that's my dedicated space. Is this also your music space?
Yeah, I do. The funny thing is I'd say the only, I guess you could call it a caveat to really liking, like really liking music a lot, liking, putting a lot of effort into making a space sound as good as you can is, so when I go in there, I'm doing like serious music listening. And if I happen to come across a track where the recording quality isn't that great, I tend to skip it because it's like, what am I listening? So if I'm listening to, like, I grew up on Black Sabbath and UFO and Led Zeppelin and Judas Priest. So that I play that in here once in a blue moon, but mostly I go out in the other room to listen to that stuff because I'm not as nitpicky on the older like 70s and 80s systems that I am in here. So, but yeah, I do listen to a lot of music in here. Yeah.
Yeah. When you listen to something like Diana Krall or something like that, where the recording is incredible, that's kind of where you would hear it better in here. But some of that old Zeppelin and the Who and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was just the raw power of the music.
Mm-hmm.
The UFO, the Live from Chicago was my favorite album.
True story. I was there at that concert.
Oh, that's so cool. So I guess I'm hearing you scream and yell on that when I do listen to that. That was when we would be working out in the weight room in high school when I was on the football team. We would just crank that and it would just get everybody going. Something that my daughters just cannot relate to.
I know. I hear you. Michael Schenker's my favorite guitar player. I got to meet him once. So
nice. Yeah. All right. So we got a Blu-ray player and a Kaliedescape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got into Kaliedescape at a discounted price as well. I'm one of those guys. I hate paying retail for anything.
Well, if you can do it, that's great. But even with the Kaliedescape, you've got your Blu-ray player, which sometimes they don't have everything. They got a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we have here? We've got your.
Yeah, that's my preamp processor. It's a JBL SDP-55. It's got full Dirac on board. It'll actually calibrate up to 5 subwoofers, which is, coincidentally the number of subs I have in here. So it actually calibrates them independently. It's got a lot of really nice features on it. And the funny thing is, when I bought that, I used to have a Marantz before that, and I used to switch back and forth the XLR cables that feed my amps out front. I would switch it from the Marantz to, I had a tube preamplifier that I would use to listen to music. So when I got that, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to listen to music through this just to see how I like it. And after I kind of got used to the differences, I sold the tube preamps. So I play everything through there now. All my music, all my movies, it does everything now.
Nice. All right. And then next up. Oh, my camera fell off.
Oh, yeah.
We'll put that back on. That was a little bit scary. All right, we're back. So let's go back because
okay.
I was busy getting the camera. All right, so hang on, let me see if my picture's back. Yep, it is. Okay. So what do we got? It looks like a headphone amp.
Yes, that's a tube headphone amp, and it's oh god, I can't remember the name of it now, but it's yeah, it's this little tube headphone amp that I use occasionally. And then to the right is that is my streamer. It's an Eversolo DMP-a6. So that's what I use to stream music with. So that feeds up into that Gustard DAC. I like the DAC, and that comes with that is fine, but I much prefer the sound of the Gustard over the internal DAC on that one.
All right, you got an Oppo. Is that the Blu-ray or is that the Ultra HD?
That's the Blu-ray. I was gonna
you don't like getting rid of anything, do you?
I believe it or not, you would think that, right? But I actually use that for SACD, like multi-channel DVD audio, because the other one won't play those discs. This one will. So I almost never use that to watch movies. It's almost always to listen to the multi-channel discs.
I forgot that they would do that as well. And the Blu-ray player, sorry, the UHD also has a, you can use it as a processor. Exactly. All right, so we got some speakers, and let's see, tell us, hang on, let's stop here and just grab what we got here on screen.
Yeah, so the left and right speakers, those have not changed recently. Those are Aerial Acoustics 7Ts, a smaller company that doesn't advertise. They're out of Massachusetts. Had those speakers, God, over 10 years, probably about 12 years now, which is by far a world's record for me. I really like them, and I have absolutely no desire to ever change those out. So to the right of that is a REL 1205 sub. They're sealed. I personally prefer sealed subs, especially for music. And so those
it seems a little tighter, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. The ports, when there's ports in there, it's a little bit, to me, it's a little bit harder to get them placed right to where you're not getting like bloated bass. So, yeah, I do prefer sealed, and they're easier to place too.
Well, and you've got multiple, so whatever you lose in the oomph you get because you've got multiple subwoofers, so that that works.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then to the right of that is my as the monoblock amp that's powering the speaker over on the left, that one, that the rose nut looking speaker, that's a musical Fidelity M8-700. And then that is my center channel speaker, which matches. Now, I used to have a different Aerial Acoustics, but I was able to find a good deal on the one that matches my left and right speakers. And then there's my ultra short throw right behind there. So when you're sitting down, you don't even see my projector. So that is a AWOL Vision. They're a little bit newer. They've been out maybe, I don't know, 3 years or so now.
You didn't have this last time we talked, did you?
No. I won another really good deal. So I wound up selling the one I had, which was an Optima P1, which is a really good projector. But this one is triple laser. It does Dolby Vision, HDR10 plus. The other one didn't do Dolby Vision. So I was able to kind of like not A/B them side by side, but I had a return policy on the one I've got. Right. And so, I couldn't have them both going at the same time, but I know what my old projector looked like. And when I fired that one up and calibrated it a little bit and gave it some time, I'm like, I was noticeably better to me.
Especially, so I've got the original Optima as well. Sorry for cutting you off. I've got the original Optima ultra short throw as well. And I've been wanting to get the AWOL, but I'll tell you, it's just a matter of what am I going to spend my money on? And, next year, if I get a nice tax return, I think that's what I might be doing.
Exactly. I was able to get that on a Prime Day deal.
Oh, nice.
It was like $900 off for Prime Day.
Yeah, and like you said, the first one, the Optima, is still pretty good.
Oh yeah, it's a good projector.
If this thing's better, I'm really excited about it, because I was watching a baseball game, full light coming into the room, and it gets better when it's darker. The colors look a little bit better, but during the day you can still watch it, and you don't get any reflections off of the windows behind you. So it's a trade-off, but I like it, and at night it gets even better.
There you go. Yep.
Well, in your case, you got a light controlled room, so it doesn't matter. It's better all the time.
Right, exactly. So
there's
that's
your other amp.
Yeah, it's just a mirror basically of the other side there. And then I did put up those bass traps behind those speakers, which did help, I think, a little bit, kind of control the bass in the room a little bit. And I'll tell you, I got those from a company in the Ukraine, of all places. And it was kind of a trial and error. I just tried putting them in different places, and at the end of the day, so that room used to be carpeted, so I wanted a little extra control, even though I have that rug down. And I have some friends who are as deep down the rabbit hole as I am, and when they came over after I got everything set up, they even agreed. They were like, you know what, we were afraid when you took the carpet out it might be a little too reflective, but they said they didn't think it was overly reflective at all now. So hopefully
you've got all that absorption there. Now these reels I'm looking at, I'm assuming that's also part of the noise abatement.
Yes.
Did you buy that or have that custom made for you?
I bought those.
I know you bought it, but yeah.
Right. Those were from a company in the Cleveland area. God, I got them a while back. I will remember the name of the place eventually, and I'll email it to you because I just don't remember off the top of my head. But real good customer service with them. Yeah.
All right. So now we're looking at the seats, and you've got a controller there. It's a tablet of some sort? And
I use Roon for music, so I use that to control Roon. It's just basically a software type of program that I can access like my streaming services and my local files through. It's just, I find it easier. Plus I like their radio a lot. I've found a lot of new stuff that I like through Roon, playing their radio.
All right, so now we're walking back, and you built these risers back there to put the seats up behind you. And
there's my overhead height speaker. So the one to the right that's a little deeper. So I was checking around up there, and I thought everything was good. And then once I cut the hole in there, there's a vent pipe right above it. So that's an oopsie. That's an oopsie cover on the left side over there towards the front.
I like that. It's an oopsie. You don't tell anyone. It's like, oh no, it's an extra speaker.
No, it's one of those voice of God speakers.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, and then the back row, nice recline, and you got another subwoofer.
Yeah, no, that's a 15-inch version of the ones that are up front. The front ones are 12s with a 500 watt. That's a 15 with 1,000.
Nice. All righty. I like the wood floors too. Are those real wood, or is that?
It's a laminate because of it being in a basement.
Yeah. Makes sense.
God, I hope it never floods again. That flood was a once in a over 200-year storm that we had.
Oh wow!
And
all right, so now we're looking at another turntable.
Yeah, that's my turntable. That's already. I've ran a really long cable, but I've got a preamp right next to that little tube amp down there. So that cable runs when they have the walls open. I moved the turntable back there, and I just ran a really high quality all the way around the perimeter behind the wall there and up to that, up to my pre-pro up there.
Nice. All
and
right.
Just a couple of the albums that I have a lot more in another area. So that's the Yamaha PX-3 linear tracking. And then those are my side surrounds. I have 2 pairs of those. Those are Aerial Acoustics 2, or I should say as well. Those are the SR3s, and there's my rear surround speakers. And I have a CD changer just because I can have a CD changer.
Yeah, little workstation back there.
Yeah, that's where I'm talking to you from right now, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All righty.
Yeah.
Onkyo.
And then those are my rear surrounds. And those are Martin Logan. That's a Martin Logan. That's Descent Eye. It's got 310s per cabinet and a 750 amp in it. And they're all sealed. So I've heard it said that when you really shouldn't mix sealed imported subs. It kind of can be a nightmare. So they say.
Just here are your CDs.
Yeah, some Blu-rays and DVDs and things like that. Yeah,
I like your little tchotchkes.
Yeah,
you know, the projector. That's just you know what? It just makes the room. It's not necessary, but when you walk into that room, you just are, wow, this is
you know cool. What it is, right? So those used to be my front speakers, and rather than trying to sell them, I just moved them to the back and then the rear speaker. It's overkill, I know, but you know, that's what I do.
Yeah, exactly. And what are we looking at here?
That's just a power conditioner for the turntable, and that was just sitting in a closet, so I just dug it out of the closet and have my turntable, the phono preamp, and a couple other things plugged into it.
Okay, and
I think we're getting near the end.
Okay, and then let me see if I can find a nice shot of the room, and we'll just leave it there and talk while we're just wrapping up here.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. So, now you spent a lot of time to build the original room. When it flooded, did that just kind of let all the air out, and you were just like, oh, what am I going to do? Or was it opportunity? I can do something else now.
Well, at first I was very overwhelmed because, you know, I just thought to myself, oh my gosh. So what I wound up doing, so my sump, what happened was I have a sump pump in my basement, and the water I have a ranch, so the foundation is bigger, and there's drain tiles all the way around the perimeter of the house. So, and they all dump into one sump pump well. The water was going into the well faster than it could pump it out. So I had a 16-gallon wet vac, and I kept sucking as much water as I could out of there, filling it up, rolling it across about 12 feet, dumping it into the toilet and going back again. I must have done that 50 times. I'm not exaggerating. And I know the thing is, I know if I wouldn't have done that, I would have lost some equipment for sure.
Okay.
So I got lucky. All I lost was carpet and, you know, drywall up about maybe 2.5, 3 feet that they had to replace. So at the beginning, I was exhausted. I was mentally exhausted, physically exhausted. Then we had to wait for the insurance adjuster to come. But once the dust settled, it was a lot of work to redo. Well,
you had to move everything out, right?
Yeah,
you had to move everything out. And
exactly.
Now, out of the entire basement or just the theater?
Well, I was able to move some things around. Thank God. I had brought a lot of stuff up the stairs out to my garage temporarily. I have an attached garage, so I was able to use that and had some help from my friends and stuff. And then the guys that did the flood abatement, they had their hands full. There must have been 8 or 10 guys here just moving things around and ripping the carpet up and tearing the walls out. It was a nightmare. But once the dust settled, if you'll pardon the pun, I'm just like, you know what, this is an opportunity to do 2.0.
Yeah.
So like out in the other room, I used to have some on-wall speakers around that L-shaped sofa. Now they're all in walls. So I did that. I did a lot of like wiring inside the walls. I'm glad I went with this LVP because it's really clean and it's easy to take care of.
Yeah.
So at first it was just like I was overwhelmed because it happened in August. And by the time everything was said and done, it was almost Christmas time. So it was a lot of work, but it was well worth it in the end. And thank God my wife got a rider for the basement flooding, because if she wouldn't have been, I would have been in the poorhouse.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, it's a beautiful room, and thank you for sharing with us. I'm going to put a link to the original tour, so if you want to go back and do a comparison, you can see with the before and after. But it looks very clean, and I like how you repurpose some of this stuff, and rather than just getting rid of it, now you got, you know, 2 theaters. You got the overflow. You got the overflow. So how many people I saw? Was it 3 or 2 rows?
I have 2 rows, so I've got 8 seats back there altogether.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
So
do you host a lot of movie nights?
Not a lot. I did, I've done a few, but, you know, COVID kind of put the kibosh on everything for a while there. But So I've been trying to, get back together with some friends, and, I retired. So some of my old coworkers I'm still in contact with. So
Yeah.
I've had, 8, 10, 12 people in here a few times. So it's been fun. We always have a good time. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's fun. It's kind of like the thing with theater rooms. It's a double-edged sword, because when you have a movie, you're just watching the movie. There's no conversation. There's nothing going on. You're focused on it. It's like you're in an actual movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
But your outside room, when you're out there with the bar and you got the big screen and you're watching football and stuff like that, that is more of a gathering with friends, and you can do stuff. So you kind of have to be in the right frame of mind for either one, because I know my wife, if we're inviting people over and I say, yeah, we're going to invite them over, we're going to have a movie, no one's going to talk. She's like, no, I'm visiting with my friends. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, and that's part of it. So it's like, okay, you know what? The men are going to go in the room and watch the movie. You guys can sit out here and chat. But yeah, so I really appreciate you sharing this with us. And so Greg Bartley, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your theater with us. And if you've got any questions for me, or Greg, send me the email, ara@htguys. And if you want to showcase your theater, you can send me an email and we'll get something like this set up. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.